Happy Friday. I'm Rob Mack.
And I'm Jessica Moyer. Welcome to EverTalk Live, coming to you live Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. for all things happiness in Hollywood, a little pop culture and positivity. And it's Friday.
We made another week.
Another week, one of the busiest in Hollywood. Everyone is in town, stepping and repeating, getting ready for the main event this weekend, the Oscars.
That's right. The streets are shutting down, huh?
Oh, absolutely.
Oh my gosh.
The tents are going up. It's a one-of-a-kind, unique Hollywood experience.
Yeah, so if you're visiting, make sure you take the Ubers because parking's going to be a mess.
Absolutely. And when I went to the coffee shop and bakery this morning, I got the cutest little things. I have to do a little unboxing. Okay, so at the legendary former Chasen's right over here in West Hollywood, which was an iconic restaurant where all of Hollywood's like elite dined for many, many years. Now it's a grocery store. Okay, and I went for my coffee and I saw the cutest cake pops. I just had to, I couldn't resist.
So dope.
How cute is that?
Little tux on there.
A little tux, and guess what? The bow tie has a date.
Oh my gosh.
Look at that. It's me and you, Rob.
That's amazing. I love it. That's fantastic, Jazz. Wow. Look at you. Do you remember that period we went through, like in high school? I don't know if you were in high school or not, but when they were selling, like everybody was selling lollipops and cake pops. Do you remember that being a thing at school?
Or no, but
Michigan.
I would have loved that.
I know, it was pretty cool. Yeah, they didn't have ones that looked like that though. Incredible.
I know. Well, we've got some incredible guests this morning. Good morning, everyone back in the studio. Hello.
Good morning. Still waking up back there.
Apparently.
All right.
Wow. We have the wildly aspirational and inspirational Shelley Zales with us today. She is the CEO of the Female Quotient. Yes. Good morning, Shelley.
I like one of those little pops.
Well, you are more than welcome to share them with me during the interview, Shelley. So we want to know, how do you wake up and stay woke? What's your morning routine like?
Well, I mean, I think it always starts with a couple of shots of coffee. I mean, I look for Starbucks anywhere. I'm usually landing on a red eye. If there's a spin class early in the morning, I'm in for that as well. And of course, just anything that will give me some oil on my face. So Sonia Dakar Omega Oil helps a lot with the bags under your eyes.
I love that. We have the opposite problem. I'm trying to get rid of the oil. You're trying to find the oil.
Bring it on.
Right? Absolutely.
All the things. Well, thank you so much for being with us this morning, Shelley. We've got Jeff Bomberger in the house. He is a author of Awakening Soul Force, a practical guide to awakening the truth within.
Love that.
Ooh, good morning, Jeff.
Good morning. How y'all doing?
We're excited that you're here. So tell us, how do you wake up and stay woke? What's your routine?
The first thing I do before I check the gram or Facebook or anything is I always start with my morning meditation. And that's usually about a 10-minute practice. And after I do that, breakfast, and then I start the day, then I get on social media, and then I do my thing.
Oh, fantastic. So lots of different forms of meditation, at least 108 as far as I know. What form of meditation do you use and love?
The form of meditation that I use and love the most is actually something I crafted from studying the various, the different kinds of meditation. So the book actually has tons of stuff in there, and I'm sure we'll get a chance to talk about that, but it's my own little secret formula.
Oh, I love it. Custom tailored.
Yep.
All right.
Nice. Dr. Kelly Neff is in the house. She is a social psychologist and the author of Sex Positive.
Hi.
Good morning.
Good morning. How are you guys?
We're grateful that you're here. So we want to know, how do you wake up and stay woke? What's your routine?
Stay woke, first of all, always. I live in the mountains in Colorado, so the first thing I do is step outside, even if it's freezing, snowing, take a big breath of that mountain air and just whoosh. Yeah, and then I mainline yerba mate.
Clean air. Sometimes we overlook the best but simplest things. Clean air, right?
Absolutely, but that is definitely the first time any of our guests said, I step outside into the mountain air.
That's true. Fair enough, Jess, yeah.
Well, thank you so much for being here. We've got Jackie Jordan in the house. She's a 2-time Emmy-nominated TV producer, pop culture expert.
Thank you.
Good morning.
Happy to be here.
So tell us, do you wake up and stay woke? What's your morning routine?
I'm an early bird. I'm like early to bed, early up. It's a journal, prayer, meditation, walk the dog, gym, and then my honey makes me breakfast.
Wow, love that.
I know. Hopefully that rubs off on me. I'm going to have to sit real close to you, Jackie, this morning. Well, thank you so much for being with us. We look forward to continuing the conversation with each of you later in the show.
Thanks.
Well, I got to be honest, Jess, I'm inspired by your morning routine. 4:30, doing the show, trading bell, and then doing this show, and then going on with the other step and repeats, and the great, I mean, it's amazing. I mean, I don't know how you do it.
Thank you, Rob. I burn the candle at both ends.
Yeah, you do.
It's a lot of dry shampoo and concealer, if I'm honest. No, absolutely. I love what I do, and you know what they say, if you love what you do, you never work a day in your life.
That's true. It's good to love what you do. do. I think I've spent so much of my life not loving what I did, right? And I think the beautiful blessing in that is that once you do find something and get to do something that you do love, you sort of never look back.
Absolutely.
Right? Yeah.
And I just love in this time of the Oscars, right, that everybody is taking a moment to celebrate. And a lot of people don't really recognize that. And they think, oh, you know, people just want to have a party and it's Hollywood. No, they have worked so hard and they have spent so many hours and months and years of their lives dedicated to a craft that you get to enjoy, even if it's for 2 hours of your life. So the fact that we can all come together and celebrate is super special. On that note, there was a special delivery for us yesterday. Cool so I thought maybe you could share it.
So you know
with
I'm into
us.
like handwriting, right? Like I used to do like handwriting analysis. And
really?
it's such beautiful handwriting, first of all.
Oh, absolutely. What does the handwriting say about this person?
Well, letters that are big generally mean the person is generous. So interesting.
Well, how generous of you to bring this by the studio.
The other thing is when you close your loops like that, I don't know if you can see, when you close your loops, like on the O's and the A's, like on the vowels, it generally means that people are, you know, they're all about closure. So they finish things that they start. Generally, you know, huge generalization, but I feel like this person probably is just that.
I'm nervous now. Rob's going to see my notes and analyze me. I've
already done that, Jazz. That's why I work and I'm friends with you because you're so incredible. Oh man, wow, love that.
Isn't this just beautiful?
Yeah, talk about well wrapped.
Exactly. I love a beautiful presentation.
Oh man, talk about an invite. Look at that.
How fun is that?
So cool.
Yeah, another reason why we have to go celebrate this weekend. Another Oscar gala. Thank you so much for including us. We're really looking forward to celebrating with you diversity and inclusion over in Beverly Hills at Ocean Prime.
Love this.
Isn't that going to be amazing?
I've been to Ocean Prime. I've heard amazing things.
Oh, you're going to absolutely love it.
Oh, look at this. This is like, makes you really want to level up on the invites you give people. Like I really need to, right? It's like, oh man, I always want to frame that. It's amazing. Oh, great.
Exactly. Well, we're so excited. We're going to be at Byron Allen's gala at the Regent Beverly Wilshire, covering the red carpet, doing some incredible interviews. Jamie Foxx is going to be there. He's hosting the event. Maroon 5. We're going to create all those memories.
I know. I grew up watching Byron Allen. Like incredible. I used to watch all his interviews with all the great athletes. You know, I think he pretty much interviewed everyone. So it's so cool to actually, we've run into him all the time, right?
All the time. Yeah. So I've been busy getting red carpet ready.
Oh, okay. So you got your dress.
I got my dress, and I went and saw Dr. Beauty, one of our guests, Dr. Anne Guanche, and I got the Bella Gold facial.
Oh, what is the Bella Gold facial? Remind me of that.
Pure gold.
Pure gold. That's what it is, right?
That's all you need to know.
Yeah.
No, microneedling with an incredible blend of special potent materials that they put right on your face.
You're always glowing, but you do look especially glowing today.
Well, by day 5, which will be Sunday, you might not recognize me. Just saying.
A brand new person, huh?
A brand new person.
It's incredible. I have never lived in a city where there are so many incredible, well, first of all, talented people, but also, like, I feel like every time and day we have guests on, there's something new I need to add to, like, my beauty regime or, like, my morning routine or something. I learned so much, right?
Or on your walls, Derek Gore is an incredible artist who's now taking residency at the Hotel Bel Air. His exhibit opened last night. Incredible.
You went, right?
I went. It was so beautiful. You know, Derek and his wife were so warm and welcoming, and of course, Stacey Blanchet. Thank you so much for the invitation, including me. And if you walk around the property, they have special exhibits. The butterfly pieces are actually hanging from one of the trees outside the restaurant. It's just so magical. That place itself is legendary, but with his art, it really becomes iconic.
Oh, I love that, Jess. Are you a bit of an artist or not really? I feel like you have a great sense of aesthetics.
I am an appreciator
Are you?
of great art. I am not a creator of it.
Yeah, I can appreciate that for sure. Well, you know, it's Friday, so usually on Fridays we talk a little bit about dating relationships. You know, for me, I think it's most important to remember that the happiest relationship really consists of like two happy individuals, right? Like two independently happy individuals. And the one thing I've discovered, and I want to talk to you a little bit about this, is like, you know, Abraham Hicks says it well, but I think lots of people say it well, which is like when you find harmony and happiness with yourself, you find harmony and happiness with everybody and everything else, even if they don't find it with you. But the challenge then often is, you know, disregarding appearances or disregarding like the undesirable behavior that you are sort of receiving from them in a way that allows you to maintain your peace and maintain your equanimity and maintain your happiness within. And so I want to talk to you a little bit about that, particularly when there are big events going on, lots of people, lots of networking happening. It's not always easy or pleasant or pleasurable. No. How do you do it, Jez? How do you navigate it all so well?
When it comes to my relationships?
Yeah, relationships and just, socialization. I think maintaining your happiness and your peace when, there are things that are happening that aren't always or don't feel that happy.
Well, and we talked a little bit about this yesterday. It's really managing my expectations of others and really setting my intentions on how I'm showing up, whether it's in professional relationships or to a networking event, or if I'm going to show up and step and repeat on some red carpet. It's really about setting my intentions and managing my expectations.
Yeah, I love that. I couldn't agree with you more. I think part of it for me too is being crystal clear that I'm selfish and I want to be selfish, and that being and focusing on my own peace and happiness is more important than me, having some kind of reactive moment or getting defensive or like being right in the situation. I'd want to be more selfish than that and say, hey, how I feel matters most. So what that means for me is keeping most of my attention and my awareness on the inside, even as I talk to people or connect with people or do whatever I'm doing. I found that when I don't do that, when I give all of my attention to the world or to the conversation, and I don't keep part of my awareness focused on that peaceful aliveness inside, I just become unrattled or unsettled or
super
off the rails.
Exhausting.
Yeah, and it's exhausting, exactly. Most importantly, it's exhausting. Yeah.
Well, we won't be doing that.
We won't be doing that this week. No. In the worst case, we can always have a glass of wine.
Exactly. We'll have plenty of Moyer moments. Well, on that note, stay tuned. We've got Shelly Zalas coming up next. I'm Jessamine Moyer. This is EverTalk Live, coming to you live Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. in the Ever Media Studios for a little Hollywood and happiness, positivity, and pop culture. On Apple TV and Roku via the EverTalk app, and of course streaming live on all socials.
I've got so much love in my life, and then I get to do this with you every single day. I mean, it's incredible.
If you have a dream, do not let anything stop you.
You can have all the money or all the success in the world, but if you don't have peace, it's all worthless, really, right?
Happiness from the inside out. Please be sure, if you haven't read this book,
so sweet.
You've got to.
I love
what we do.
I do too, Jess.
Miracles. I'd like just my life to be an example that miracles exist. I am just so grateful that we get to be a part of this journey together, Rob, whether it's 4 a.m. texting up peanut butter and jellies or coming to you live Monday through Friday every 9 a.m. You know when you're going to see that, Eddie?
Yes.
When we're holding it in our own hands,
yeah,
Rob,
right.
For best digital daytime talk show.
What makes people lucky, like actually lucky, is that they believe they're lucky.
Thank you for being my mentor, Rob.
Likewise.
You didn't even know it.
True. Yeah.
I'm out all the time. I'm everywhere. I'm drinking my wine. I'm doing the show. I'm stepping and repeating on some kind of red carpet. I had a little too much. I said, one drink Jeslin. One drink Jeslin. 2 tequila Jeslin. 2 tequila Jeslin.
1 drink Jazz.
Is this 1 drink Jeslin? I hope you're proud, Rob.
I'm very
reading
proud
a
of
book.
you, actually. I don't know how you have the hair is killing it today.
Oh, thank you. Clearly, we have no fun around here. It's a thing. Thought of the day. Light, love, and magic. Oh, I do it fun. It was wild. Abso-freaking-lutely. Oh my God, do you know we're still on live, Rob? Right now.
You gotta be kidding.
Talking to my angels.
That's hilarious.
What you do, you don't work a day in your life, right? I absolutely love what I do.
Yeah,
we couldn't do what we do without the support of you watching. Thank you for sharing, for DMing, for commenting, for continuing to support us as we grow and scale our vision, for the people in the studio and their friends and families for having our backs. We're so grateful.
Right. And I'm most deeply and genuinely grateful for you. Truly I am, Jazz. It's just a pleasure every day to get to connect with you and work with you. It's amazing.
Oh, thank you. I'm so grateful for you. We love you, Rob Mack. There isn't a man or woman who hasn't met you and said you're the best dressed person in Los Angeles and the happiest guy we know. It's an honor to be able to do the show with you.
I appreciate that.
our goal together is to activate change and advance equality in the workplace. And when I look back at my corporate career, my legacy is bringing us all together to activate change together. When you're looking for that one perfect mentor, you're never going to find them because there is no perfection. Perfection doesn't exist. I call it mentorship in the moment. We learn so much from so many people, bits and bites of advice. So just look for wisdom from wherever you can get it, from top down, from bottom up, and all around. And I promise you, you will learn something from someone. And I think that's what it's all about. As you know, you are in the Girls Lounge pop-up gallery, and it's called See Her. And the reason we created See Her as our theme this year is, number one, we are creating standards for how we portray women in media and entertainment. I always think forward, because I never want to look back in life and say shoulda, woulda, coulda. I think forward and say, will I feel bad if I miss this event? If I'm going to feel bad, I don't do it. And at the end of the day, in a year from now, no one's going to remember the hour you missed at work, but I can guarantee you, you will remember or regret the moments you missed that were important in life that you can't get back.
And so when I had to write a business plan, it was funny because someone said, okay, put a business plan together. I said, how can I write a business plan with something that no one's ever done before? There's no competitive set.
Yeah, first of all, we're all learning. So, and when you use the word unstoppable, I always say when purpose meets passion, you're unstoppable. Each and every one of us has responsibility for change. We all need to stand out, and most importantly, hold hands and feel the power when we are connected to one another. Feel your energy. That's strength. We can do this. History starts today. The time is now for all of us to make a difference. Thank you.
Welcome back to EverTalk Live. We are here with the chief troublemaker and innovation junkie herself, Shelly Zalis. Thank you so much for being with us today.
Oh my God, I'm so excited.
We're so excited to have you.
Thank you.
Just witnessing those few highlight moments from those incredible events, you are so inspirational, Shelly, and you are so driven. What is your mission with the Female Quotient?
Well, what's really amazing to me is, I always say, and you talked about this before, but when you love what you do, it's called passion. When you don't, it's called stress. And when you follow your heart, you can think about things in your head, but then you rationalize, you justify. But if you follow your heart, and now I understand what that means, these heartbeat moments, you are really pushing forward with purpose, with passion, and that's when change happens. And so many times people tell you, you can do this, you can't do that. Who are they to tell you that? When you find your purpose, you just go all the way. And I am the chief troublemaker. I've broken all the rules in corporate America that made no sense for me so that I could be a mother, I could be a wife, I could be a community leader, I could be a girlfriend, I could be a great daughter, I could be a great sister, and I could be a great CEO. And in order to do all that, you've got to follow your own path because no one is going to make your bed for you.
Hashtag goals.
Right?
Right there.
You're so passionate, so purpose-driven, and I love that. And it's clearly, embodied in both you and your message. For those people that are struggling a little bit to find their passion or find their purpose, they can't really hear their heart. What do you recommend?
Well, I don't think you hear a heart, you feel a heart. And so I think that it's one of those moments where you, ba-boom, ba-boom, you'll always know what you don't want to do. You got to try things and see what sticks. And that moment you wake up, the quote, which is, tell me something I may not remember it, teach me something I might learn, but make me feel something, I will remember it forever. And so once you feel that moment, give it everything you got. There's so many people that stand back, they wait, they watch, they're looking for permission. Don't look for permission. Take it. Don't apologize. Own it. Sorry, not sorry. And I think these are really important things to remember. And, when you talked about perfection doesn't exist. Perfect people are not real. Real people are not perfect.
Amen.
Think about that. And perfection is so boring. I mean, who wants to have perfect friends? It's just, way too over the top.
So take us back to the moment you decided, I'm going to really move forward with the female quotient, the girls' lounge. What was that for you?
You know, I was the only female CEO, top 25 my entire career. I was in the business of market research. So if you've ever taken one of those horrible surveys on the internet, I'm the mother of that invention. Sorry, not sorry. I did quite well with that. And I created the largest, fastest growing research company in the world, but I knew I thought very differently. You know, I had food in meetings and flowers, and, you know, one of the rules of the road, you know, I created the uncorporate rules, you know, rules that never made sense for me rising the ranks and being able to quote unquote do it all. I wanted to do it all my way. And I also wanted to become the new rule, not always be the exception. And I've been told my whole life that, you know, there's no room for emotion in the boardroom. My greatest strength are the soft powers. I'm emotional, I'm passionate, I'm caring, I'm nurturing, I'm empathetic. Those to me are the greatest characteristics of leadership today, but I was never known for those, or I was never validated for those. And so when I was told there's no room for emotion in the boardroom, what do? You have two options. Say you're right, or do what I did, which was say you are terribly wrong, and do a speech for thousands of people saying bring emotion to the boardroom. Make that the new thing. Because if we don't talk about it, and we keep going in circles with what is happening, change will certainly not happen. And then it was this moment where I wanted to go to CES, the Consumer Electronics Show. I heard there was over 150,000 people, less than 3% were women, and it's intimidating. You know, I was a big-time CEO, well-known in market research. Put me in any room, I'll know everyone. Put me in a tech room, I knew no one. And so what do you do when you're afraid? You call your girlfriends. I called my girlfriends and said, why don't you go with me and let's walk the floor? And if you know other women, invite them. 24 hours later, 50 women showed up. And two remarkable things happened. One, every guy's head turned. Like, where did you women come from? And that's when I coined the phrase, power of the pack. A woman alone has power. Collectively, we have impact. It was no longer an invisible moment. It was no longer a lonely moment. It was a, wow, this feeling of just confidence, which was the second thing. I was surrounded by people just like me, not hiding who we were, not apologizing, not transforming to the rules that made no sense, but owning our greatest strengths, realizing that our differences are our greatest strength. And that's when I coined the phrase, confidence is beautiful. So if there was a boys' club, now there's a girls' lounge, opposite a boy-girl, opposite a club lounge. The girls' lounge has grown to over 50,000 corporate women strong. We now call it the Equality Lounge. But in the beginning, women were like, we're not girls. I said, have you ever heard of a man object to being a boy in the boys' club? Why are we creating our own double standards, right? So that's how it evolved.
So interesting to me. I think, you know, first of all, that you're been so positively disruptive. I love that. But you know, there are a lot of other things here that you do so extraordinarily well, including like being cognitively agile and emotionally regulating, and sort of embracing your emotional intelligence, but from like a positive intelligence and positive communication perspective. Like, how did you learn how to do that? How to sort of be sort of strategic and positive and constructive in the way that you disrupt things? Because I think a lot of people want to break rules, but then they just cause problems for themselves. You didn't do that.
Yeah.
How did you do that?
Yeah, thank you. You know, I think that I create things versus disrupt things, because if you put people in the negative and in the defense, you know, then no one will move forward. You know, you have to think about positive, proactive solutions for change. One of the things that is so disturbing in our industry, I just came from the World Economic Forum in Davos, Switzerland, with world leaders, and they published a report on 144 countries on gender equality. And what they found, the United States 3 years ago was number 28 out of 144. Last year it was 55. So we are going backwards. And so
that's so disheartening.
It's disheartening, especially when you hear the numbers that it'll take over 108 years to realize gender parity in the C-suite.
And it's 2020.
2020, the 100-year anniversary of women's rights to vote. And it says it'll take 257 years, up from 202 years last year, to create economic gender parity. So for equal pay, we have to wait 257 years.
Why the regression? Why are we regressing?
Because it's back to your disruption. We can talk about the problems, we can complain about the problems, or we can shut the door and open a new one. Equal pay for equal work. It's not that complicated. And if we think about all of these biases, I always say equality is a choice, unconscious bias is an excuse. How many more times do we want to hear about implicit bias? Oh, it was unconscious. If you use the word unconscious, you are conscious. So once aware, you have a choice. Do you want to close it or not? And I think it was Yogi Berra. He talks about trying. There's no such thing as trying.
Yes.
Try to pick that up.
Either do or you don't.
You just do it.
You either do it or you don't. So if we keep trying to catch up, legacy will definitely run faster than reality, and we'll keep widening the gap. So you get to the point where you say, we're not going to look at what's wrong. We're not righting the wrong. It was fine then, but it's not okay today. So how do we right forward with positivity, with proactivity, with solutions for change, and most importantly, measurement for accountability? Not to point fingers, you're good, you're bad. For each of us to take responsibility for change. It's not that hard.
It really isn't. What advice do you have for women who might not feel like they have that pack, especially when they're trying to make change and create new space for them to be the leaders they need to be within their own corporate structure or within their family or culture in general?
First of all, there are so many, get a support system, because there is power in the pack. There is no doubt about that. And Madeleine Albright says women that don't support other women deserve a place in hell. We say that women that support other women deserve a place in heaven. And so find a pack. And there are plenty of people that are out there, but it really does start, and you talked about this, it starts within. It starts within yourself. And if you believe in yourself, others will. And so I think it's believe in yourself. That whole, it's not what you look like on the outside, it's how you feel on the inside. Confidence is beautiful. So I think it begins with you.
Thank you for leading the way, Shelley. We so deeply appreciate it. Please tell everyone where they can find and follow you and learn more about the Female Quotient.
Thank you. So www.femalequotient.com. Also, you can follow Shelley Zalis, you can follow Female Quotient, and join the pack.
Love it. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Stay tuned. We'll be back with more on EverTalk Live. 5, 4, 3, 2. Happy New Year, everyone. I'm your host, Jez Mouillet, aka The Trading Bell. What a morning it will be. Due to recent news, we're expecting that the market will be down today, but that could potentially present some opportunity for us. Let's take a look at our watch list. One of the things that differentiates the Trading Bell from any of the other stock shows, other than we do live trading, is everything that we do is on camera, so you can see it as it happens. You are seeing what's happening right now in this moment. 2020, it's all about money, money, money. That is my motto. Remember, money never sleeps, pal. That's right. That's why I'm here trading in Los Angeles live with you at the opening bell. Whew, sun is not even up yet, but the stocks are on the move. Numbers are moving faster than I can even speak. Well, let's face it. I'm excited. I'm thrilled. I've got goosebumps. This is a history in the making. Top of the list, SVRA up 154% this morning. Build BVI at 162. Oh, that feels good. BPH, Spring-Bake Pharmaceuticals up 22%. That is going to make for a very sweet start to 2020. Filled. Woo! That feels good. Just a disclaimer, this is an entertainment show, so please don't treat any of the information you hear on the show as an investment advice, because trading is risky. Let's end the year strong. Visit EverTalk TV, Facebook, or Instagram at The Trading Bell. Remember, every dream has its price. What's yours? Welcome back to EverTalk Live. We are talking Awakening the Soul Force with the author himself, Jeff Baumberger. Thanks so much for being with us today.
Thank you guys so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
We're excited to have you.
Tell us a little bit about the book. What is Soul Force?
So, Awakening Soul Force, the book, is really just it's kind of a practical guide to awakening to the truth of who we are. The term Soul Force isn't a term that I made up. I'm borrowing this language from Gandhi and King. And essentially what Soul Force breaks down to is being love in action, kind of spiritual truth in motion. And so for me, the book Awakening Soul Force is really about us getting in touch with the truth within and the truth of who we are. Because part of Gandhi's nonviolence is clinging to truth. And I figure, well, if we don't know who and what we are, if we don't know the truth of who and what we are, then what are we clinging to? Where's our ability to be love in action if we don't know what the foundation is?
Yeah.
So Awakening Soul Force is kind of this guidebook to the process of the ways I found my way into discovering who I am. What was I made for? And how can I best serve my community and how can I best be love in motion?
When did this journey start, and what sparked this interest in sort of Soul Force?
Yeah. The journey it's interesting because I started when I was 12 years old. I got my first tarot reading from a very skeptical, very manly father. We had some time to kill. We were actually in the valley. Swung by a psychic guy, got some tarot readings done, and we both kind of came away going, whoa, what was that? What the heck was that? And that kind of began my interest in metaphysics. And shortly after, I discovered meditation. So I don't know if you guys are familiar with the psychic medium, John Edward.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, you used to have a TV show.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So we had a cassette tape in the house, Unleashing Your Psychic Potential. So when I was about 14 years old, I decided to do a little dance with that. I mean, I had metaphysical curiosity, but at the core of it, I was kind of looking at ways to kind of alleviate the normal stress of being a high school kid. I was playing football, taking honors classes, and it was stressful. So I thought, well, maybe meditation might be a way into this. And what I found though in meditation was much deeper and much more profound than just alleviating anxiety. It was receiving messages of inspiration, receiving guidance, comfort, support from what I call loving awareness. And that was kind of the beginning of how this evolved. So I'm like anybody else. I didn't listen to the guidance. I didn't always pay attention. But as I got a little smarter, a little wiser, walked the path, you start to realize, okay, there's something here. And the more that I listen to this, the more I transform, the more my life transforms.
Intuition is a really interesting thing. And for a lot of people, this guidance, this voice, it might be a little bit hard to digest or relate to. But oftentimes people can say it is a gut feeling. You just know. Is that similar to your experience? Or do you really hear the clear voice of the universe or God or whatever it is?
For me, it's a lot of different things. And it's actually one of the things that I give workshops on is the intuitive senses. I talk about the intuitive senses and how we can get information in our meditation practice. So for me, it actually started off very clear. It was just a clear, high, reassuring, and very comforting thought. I would have questions. I would be freaking out, say, help me see through this. What is going on here? And then you get kind of this reassuring voice. That's one way. But yeah, there's many different intuitive senses, and they're really just an extension, really, of the 5 physical senses that we all have: the touch, taste, see, hear, and smell. And it's more of the subtle senses. So we can get them in gut feelings. We can get them in our heart, like a clear knowing. It's called claircognizance. Clairvoyance is when we see things, or when we get imagery or symbolism that comes through, images in our mind. So you might have a question you're seeking answers or guidance to, and what comes through is just a daydream, and it might be a boat that's in the rocky waters. And in symbology or in symbolism of that is, okay, we're looking at rough emotions. The ocean water often represents emotions. So there's a bit of a deep dive there. We can, there's clear knowing in our heart space and in our gut, but then there's more communication. There's more of a language with intuition, and that's what I try to help bring people into that world. How do we decipher that language so that we can, again, how can we be love in motion?
Just so interesting. So talk to us a little bit about what you share in the book. I'm sure you share a lot of this, but also a lot more.
Yeah, so the book is meant to be it's personal. There's a journey here. I found my way into a lot of different things. I was a child actor. I got behind the camera as an adult. I was a personal trainer for years. I worked on political campaigns as a content producer and a political advisor. I've been living life.
Also with the homeless, right?
Yeah, and then I also, I've been creating content for the homelessness services nonprofit here, PATH, People Assisting the Homeless. Highly recommend getting involved with the agency if you are interested in solving homelessness in California. So the path has taken me to a lot of places. So it was a way to kind of show people this is practical stuff. Like intuition isn't just woo-woo, make-believe, I don't know what's going on. It's not airy-fairy stuff. There's information available to us. There's wisdom available to us that we can grab onto it and we can learn to apply it. And so I talk about sort of my personal journey and then a lot of the practices and ways that I found, to get in touch with this. Creativity, meditation has been a huge gateway, which is why meditation is kind of at the core of everything. That's why it's my morning practice. A lot of tools in here that can be practically applied so that we can be intuitive without being lost in outer space or something.
Yeah. So how's your life changed as a result of this? Clearly, there's a subjective well-being that's enhanced, and I can tell, the stress and anxiety and all that stuff is probably greatly reduced, maybe eliminated to a large extent. But what other ways would you sort of describe the ways in which your life has sort of changed as a result?
My life has changed. I'm sitting here talking about it.
That's what
I never imagined I would be here talking about this.
You're in the closet about it before, right?
Yes, I'm kind of out of the spiritual closet. Hey guys,
exactly.
I'm psychic, intuitive, because I meditate.
Right.
That's one thing, but really I think the most important thing that's really at the essence and the core of why I'm doing this is it's about humanity. It's about seeing our own humanity. And so what this has shown me, not only in my own practice, I've seen more deeply into my own humanity. And that allows me to see more deeply into the humanity of others. Yeah. So with that brings more understanding, more compassion for myself, more compassion for others. When I'm less judgmental of myself and my process, where I misstep or where I mess up along the path, I can be more forgiving to others in that way.
It's everything.
It's huge, and that's why at the core of this is it's a spiritual journey for ourselves. Our transformation is the world's transformation. It's being the change. Totally. Not to quote Gandhi again, but
good person to quote.
Yeah, exactly. We know that you're also speaking at the Conscious Life Expo here in Los Angeles. Can you share a little bit about information and where people can get tickets to see you?
Yeah, so I'm speaking. I got a workshop at the Conscious Life Expo. It's at the LA Airport Hilton. I'll be there this afternoon, 2 o'clock, doing the workshop. It's an intuitive meditation workshop, and then I will be there providing intuitive guidance and spiritual readings all the way through Sunday. So swing by the LAX Airport Hilton. You can buy tickets into the event, and then come find me out on the floor at my booth, and be happy to sit with anybody and discuss these things, talk about the meditation practices, and then also tap in and provide intuitive guidance for folks who are seeking.
It's a fantastic event.
Oh,
I've been there last year. It was amazing.
Super cool. Crystal's gold. Yes, and please tell everyone where they can find and follow you.
Yeah, so you can find out more information about myself and the book at thesoulforce.com. You can also follow me on Instagram and Facebook at Jeff Bomberger. And there's also an Awakening Soul Force Facebook group for people who are seeking. So we're building this nice little community of people who are into this transformation, who are seeking for themselves, for the betterment of humankind, to be love in action. And it's a great, wonderful community. Anybody's welcome to join. It's a great way to stay in touch and join a community of people who are on the path. It's fun and exciting.
Thank you for sharing your light with the world. We really appreciate you, Jeff.
me.
Stay tuned. We'll be back with more at EverTalk Live.
Amazing.
So good.
Dude.
And that event is amazing.
Oh.
Welcome back to EverTalk Live. We are so excited to welcome two-time Emmy-nominated producer, pop culture expert, Jackie Jordan. Thanks so much for being here this morning.
Thank you so much for having me here. Yeah.
So, we've been talking a lot about equality.
Yes.
And rumor has it, Gen X has lost its voice.
Well, through my work as a pop culture expert and also in my primary business, TV Guestpert Publishing, we're getting ready to publish a book called Culture Shock by Dr. Joanna Massey. And through the research of that book and through our other observations, we notice that Gen X, which is my generation, doesn't have a voice. And they don't have really a voice in the media. We can see it specifically in the landscape of the political landscape. The last 26 years, it's been a consecutive baby boomer in public office, and certainly Gen X, our age group, is qualified and ready, should be there. But we have millennials stepping into the political campaign. Many women, millennials, have taken congressional positions and congressional seats. So this latchkey generation, Generation X, while the millennials and the their kid sister, the Gen
Zs, yeah,
step in. We call them the Gillennials, 150 million of those. Step into the workforce. Gen X is still kind of the latchkey kid, kind of the middle child syndrome of the generation.
It's so interesting, though, because Gen X raised millennials.
Exactly.
Our voice.
That's exactly.
So it's almost like, well, thank you for raising us. But you're
That's exactly what my office says, is thank you.
Yeah, but for stepping up and using our voice. We're not trying to take over, but we're really trying to step into a space and create our own, where we see the room for opportunity, and where we don't see the room, we make it.
So we did really a great job as parents, because millennials and the younger generations have no problem stepping up, stepping out, voicing their concerns, voicing inequality, putting voice to it. But the Gen Xers are still not putting their voice to it. We do see it in certain situations. So the Me Too movement was essentially a very big Gen X movement. So it was kind of this, we're not going to take this anymore place. But we're still being left out in terms of Madison Avenue is not targeting Gen X for their opinion and going after them for their money, even though that Gen X makes 31% of the income, and we're only 25% of the population.
Yeah.
So, but what I also found out in the research around this was that Gen X and millennials actually have a big hand in the Electoral College. So again, kind of proving that Gen X is really working behind the scenes. We're an integrator generation, a bridge generation. We are the one who horizontally had to integrate from the payphone to the flip phone to the smartphone. But our kids never had to do that. You were just born with a smartphone.
Yes.
And you're faster at it than anybody in Gen X, and you intuitively know. And at this point, and probably in most households, the parents will now say to the kids, hey, can you order, the takeout food from DoorDash or Grubhub? It's not the old chore of, telling dad what you want for dinner and him having to go out and get it. So things have changed. Some of the interesting consequences that are going to be interesting in this next decade to see is that with the younger generations, they don't have a because everything's been instant gratification. And since the millennials and the younger generations have been photographed since in the womb, so being part of a selfie nation is super easy for millennials. But Gen X, we didn't grow that way. We had the Polaroid camera. Yeah. We had the Kodak disposable camera. We're a little bit more shy. Yeah. And I certainly see that with a lot of the clients that we work with at TV Guestport, because we put people out in the media and help them with foster their expression of themselves. And the Gen Xers, who are a lot of business owners and entrepreneurs doing great things behind the scenes, kind of just go yeah, okay, if I have to do it as a business tool, I'll do it, but this doesn't really feel comfortable, but my kid's really great at it. So those are all the places that we're seeing the discrepancies in the different generations.
Fascinating. So if there's a Gen Xer out there here, what would you recommend they do if they want to increase their influence and their visibility in the world or in the workplace, but do it in a way that feels authentic to them?
Exactly. Yeah. I think that's exactly what Gen X really wants, is that it has to be authentic. And when we started in our workforce, it was a big deal that the fax machine came in. And I know I sound like I can't believe I'm sounding like my grandmother would say I had to walk through school in snow, with the lunchbox, But it's really, we have been the bridge and the integrators in the workforce, because it's the okay boomer, and then the millennials are really taking a lot of leadership roles. But studies shows that keeping the Gen X in the mix is the bridge for really achieving the diversity and integration within the cultural in the workplace.
Wow.
Well, thank you so much for sharing your insight, Jackie. Please tell everyone where they can find and follow you, and of course, get your incredible book.
Well, thank you so much. So, Front and Center podcast on Instagram, and of course, TV Guestport on Instagram or Facebook. You can find us in many of those places.
Fantastic.
And the books?
And the books. Oh, yeah, books are on Amazon, Heartfelt Marketing. We'll also be at the Front and Center podcast. We'll be at the Conscious Life Expo this weekend, too.
Oh, love it.
Yeah,
Everybody's cool is going to be there.
Yeah, you're going to be at the Oscars, which is also super cool, too.
Fashion Week, LA Art Show, Conscious Life Expo, the Oscars. Woo!
You get to see the big Vanity Fair tent going up the street right now.
Goodness.
Yes.
It's very exciting.
High vibes to us all. Well, thank you so much, Jackie. Stay tuned. We're back with more on EverTalk Live.
Last night I dreamt and you were there. But when I woke in the morning, it didn't feel real. Putting the pieces back together, finding a strength I never knew. Start again. This time it's gonna be different. I'm learning to breathe again. This time it's gonna feel different. The past is in the past. Some things just never last. Learn to let go. Start again. Start again.
Welcome back to EverTalk Live. We are here with social psychologist and best-selling author of Sex Positive, Dr. Kelly Neff. Thanks so much for being with us today.
Welcome.
Thanks for having me. This is fun.
So we just had a very interesting conversation about Gen X, but we're talking all things sexuality and really embracing that in a positive way with millennials.
Yes, that's why I wrote this book. It's touching on all of the themes of today's show, which is really cool, about disruption and expression and identity and healing, and also the instant gratification of technology and the way it's changing our relationships. So it's kind of fun to see all the other guests on the show today and be like, oh wow, this is kind of all working together.
Absolutely. So what are some of those trends or some of those changes that you're seeing or patterns?
Well, I mean, I wrote the book because I'm one of the older millennials, so I spent, again, like half of my life without technology and then half of it with it. And it's amazing how much it's changed our ability to communicate and relate. Suddenly there's no body language. Everything's an app. Everything's instant. People are being discarded in favor of the,
It's so interesting. And then when people do get or connect live, there's like this deterioration in their social intelligence sometimes that you feel.
That's
Absolutely.
Right? It's
I mean, I don't know how we lost emotion with emojis.
Right.
Like, I mean, what happened here?
That's a great point,
because
Jess.
then it's
Very
literally
tweetable.
like in conversations I've had people like, and I've even been guilty of that. Instead of saying something really connecting, I'll be like, well, praise emoji. Why am I expressing my emotions with emojis verbally as we connect right now?
Yeah, well, it's reductionism. That's the point.
Yeah.
Everything is getting smaller and smaller. So I wrote Sex Positive as a tool for people to use to understand and to think about the world and to think about their relationships and how they can heal and cope with the changes that are happening.
It's so interesting. Even in this conversation, I keep thinking about, that DM we all get, somebody just sends you the peach.
Yeah.
You're like,
the eggplant.
Really, that's the way you're coming on to me right now? I mean, like,
well,
what?
this whole sliding into the DMs, and like the middle of the night, like booty call, people have always been doing this stuff, but it just makes it that much eeasier to jump in.
Well, yeah, and it's so much less personal, though. To me, I almost find it offensive. I'm like, you can't even use your words.
No, I know. Well, have you been on the dating apps?
I have been, to be honest, and it's very weird. I'm in this situation where they're calling it whelming, where there's so many options and so many messages that you just are like, I don't even know where to start with all of this, and I don't feel connected to any of you.
Yeah, how could you? I mean, based on a couple of pictures picture than a 2-word bio that no one really reads.
Right.
How can you feel connected? So my advice to people is to get back to that humanity, get back to that feeling inside where we actually can look someone in the eye and have a spark of chemistry. And that happens by getting out in the world and actually doing things, you know? And yeah, I think in terms of like sex positivity, right? It's about actually loving yourself enough to know you're worth it, and you can show yourself to someone else and not be afraid. Kind of like what Shelley was saying earlier, you know, you got to actually put it out there and own your truth.
Yeah. Have you always been able to do that, or have you sort of grown into that? Has it been an evolution
definitely,
for you?
it's a huge evolution, and
Yeah.
I think all of this is a process. I don't think we're ever fully healed, and when you think you are, something's going to come around and smack you back down and make you learn again.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
So for those folks who do want to put into practice, like, you know, their social intelligence, they want to improve their social skills, they want to communicate better, relate better, maybe to themselves, but also to other people, whether, you know, as with respect to dating or just socializing and, you know, sort of cultivating platonic relationships, what do you recommend? Like, where do they start?
It's such a good question. Where do we start? But
Yeah.
you start with yourself, always. And I have a section about healing from sexual trauma in the book, because off the back of the Me Too movement, right, we've now purged all of this energy out. And it's time to kind of reconceptualize and rewrite our own narrative and our own story. But that comes from working on yourself, programming, shame, guilt. All of these things are, we have the possibility to actually work through them, but we have to recognize the learned behavior patterns and the self-limiting beliefs. In other words, whatever happened to us as children or from our families or programming, or, you know, this is a sex negative society, right? Women's bodies are objectified and commoditized. Women are still being slut shamed. J-Lo being slut shamed. I mean, are you freaking kidding me?
Yeah.
I know. So we have to start with ourselves, and by creating a dialogue with the people in our lives that expresses our boundaries. Because being sex positive, you don't have to like sex. You can be celibate or asexual and be sex positive. It's about having a healthy relationship with yourself that emphasizes consent and boundaries.
Such a beautiful way to describe it.
Thank you.
Yeah, so I think guilt and shame clearly are like two really big sort of challenges for people these days. You know, so if somebody's, you know, struggling with guilt issues or shame issues, you know, what would you recommend? Do they come see a professional? Can they work through it themselves? What do they need to do?
Well, I absolutely think that we should remove the stigma of mental health care, and we need to talk about it. And it's okay to ask for help. You know, I'm a psychologist. And I really believe strongly that we should always be able to ask for help and talk to people. But there's also things you can do, and I outline in the book self-love practices, and not narcissism, right? You're really about being selfish, and how you have to guard your space and your energy and set those boundaries. I think that's a really powerful thing. But I also have some mantras. Like, one of my favorites is you write on your mirror in your bathroom in lipstick or eyeliner, "I am worthy of love." And every time you go get dressed, you know, the mirror is that place where we're criticizing ourselves and hating ourselves, hating our bodies, judging our bodies. And that's when you look in that mirror and you say, "I am worthy of love." Every single morning. That's actually really good. Stay woke for the morning.
You know, so many times people see that on TV and you're like, I'm not really going to write that message on my mirror. I'd be embarrassed. But how many times do you look in the mirror and I'm so guilty of this too? And the only thing I see is something I'm mad about myself.
So
I should have worked out. I shouldn't have eaten that. Why is that mole here? I mean, rather than just saying, "Hey girl, you're worthy of love."
Yeah, exactly.
No, the first thing I think is something negative when I see myself.
Yeah. Which is so crazy, because I mean, you're absolutely gorgeous.
Thank you.
And yet it's those little, it's that inner critic, right? Because the perfectionism, we're always taught like we're not enough, we're not good enough. And that's also part of our society's conditioning, particularly for women, but also for men and gender non-conforming people too. These ideas of this is how you have to be, this is how you have to look, and anything else isn't good enough. Why? Because they're trying to sell us. They want us to buy stuff to make ourselves feel better. But we don't need to buy anything to make yourself feel better. There's no cream or procedure or whatever that's going to make you love yourself. That's your choice. That's your work to do, is to love yourself. And here we are in the City of Angels, and we got the Oscars and all this fabulous, and I'm all about the glitz and glamour, you know, we were just talking about it.
Love the McQueen earring.
Do what, I know.
Totally.
Do what makes you feel good, but just remember, it doesn't define you. The physical form will fade away. You know, we're all getting older, or just like, you know, maturing, as I like to say, like a fine wine.
I just love that. You know, I remember hearing somewhere that, you know, marketing basically works by this principle of like pattern interruption. So the point is to interrupt your day to sort of, you know, so they can draw attention to themselves. And but, you know, sort of deprogramming yourself works very much the same way, isn't it? It's like that
It's an interruption. That's why
pattern interruption.
You know, the malas or a bead or something to count on. You repeat your mantra to yourself, and it helps to just remind yourself, I'm worthy of love, I'm worthy of love. And you keep saying it until you actually can say it.
I love it. Or we can just befriend you or buy the book.
Yes. Oh, yeah. Sexpositivebook.com. It's out on the 11th of February. I am also doing a keynote speech on sex positive healing tomorrow at the Conscious Life Expo.
Oh, nice.
And also doing a healthy sexual relationships for college students at the Own It conference at UNC tomorrow, too.
Super important.
Really important, yes.
So a lot of fun stuff going on.
What a great work.
Yeah, if you're interested in that. And also Dr. Kelly Neff on all social channels. You can find me.
Fantastic.
Thank
you guys.
We appreciate
Much
it.
love. Much love.
Much love to you, and much love to you. Thank you so much for tuning in this morning. Be sure to come back on Monday for all things Oscar coverage.
That's right. Have a great weekend. We guys see you on Monday. Have a great weekend on purpose.
Happy Monday.
Yes.